Hello there, welcome back to the Everything Motor Racing podcast. We hope you enjoyed the first episode. This episode tails off from episode 1 because, to be honest, we couldn't stop talking. So instead of recording for 1 hour, we ended up recording for 2 hours, which means you get an extra podcast midweek. How great is that? In this episode, we do talk about Marc Marquez's return. Now, this podcast was recorded on Sunday the 21st of March, and then the day after, quite typically, Marquez confirmed that he was not going to race in the season opener at Qatar for both races, and then evaluate his condition before an attempted return at Portimao, provided the doctors give the okay on April the 12th. Now, in this podcast, because it is pre-recorded, we do discuss Marc Marquez making a potential return at Qatar. And we have decided to keep this part in the podcast because we feel it would be interesting for you guys to kind of get an idea of our thought process behind this, how well we thought he would do. You know, we also gave predictions of what he would do. Would he race? Would he just do free practice 1? So we felt it'd be a great idea to keep this included in the podcast. Now, without further ado, enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Everything Motor Racing podcast. Obviously, you may have seen episode 1 where we discussed Moto 2 and Moto 3 testing, and we left on the end about an episode 2, and this is episode 2. So obviously we're discussing, we've got Dovi going to Aprilia, we've got Marquez returning potentially this weekend. I mean, this was pre-recorded, so if he has already confirmed he's coming back, I do apologise. And obviously, everything to do with testing and what we think is going to happen this weekend in Qatar. I'm joined by Jacob Ward again from Now Moto.
How you doing, guys?
And also Keelan McNamara.
What's up, everyone? We made it all the way from episode 1 to 2. Glad to be back.
Yeah, and we've basically time traveled because this is actually Sunday that we're recording this. So, hello to everyone on Thursday. We're probably going to be completely outdated now, but we hope you enjoy. Dovizioso, Aprilia. So obviously he is testing for Aprilia at Jerez in April. I think it's the 12th to the 14th.
12th to 14th, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think of that? Because that is crazy, because obviously he is a multiple MotoGP race winner. He's won races with Honda, he's won races with Ducati. Aprilia obviously majorly struggled to sign riders in the pre-season, including Dovizioso. Yeah, given Aleix Espargaro's performance at Qatar, I would back that. I mean, what do you think about that, ET?
Well, for me, the main thing we've got to find out, everybody's like, well, the Aprilia is just a Ducati clone. Got to find out if it is, because yeah, they might have the salad box, etc. You know, with the bits and bobs in it. But other than that, I don't think it's anything like a Ducati. It's short. It has a lot of front end. I think Dovi may love it because all he ever asked for from Gigi at Ducati was, I want a bike that turns. And now we know this Aprilia can turn. I can see him, well, I believe it's already done, but I can see him appearing at Portimao and going straight to the top on their Aprilia.
But do you think he's going to race it, do you?
Yep, I do. I think Salvadori's going back to a test rider. But he won't race Qatar for obvious reasons of, it'll be in between Qatar 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So he won't have ridden the bike at Qatar 1. So either Salvadori or perhaps Bradley Smith on the bike at Qatar 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then I think Portimao forward, we're going to see Dovi on that bike.
Yeah, because Dovizioso would actually ride it a few days before Portimao. So it'd be, obviously, Qatar's back-to-back. So it's next weekend after, and then we've got a little bit of time, a week off, and then we've got Algarve.
Yeah, so, that was what I meant. Yeah, between Portimao and Qatar, not the Qatar races.
So yeah, I mean, it's possible if he likes the bike, but the thing that comes down to Dovizioso is money.
Yeah,
he knows his worth.
Yeah, when it comes to Andrea Dovizioso and Aprilia, there's quite a few factors to consider when you're actually analyzing the situation. Firstly, I was stunned by how Ducati treated Dovi. You know, love him or hate him, overachiever, underachiever, whatever you think of Dovizioso, he's a 3-time runner-up in the premier class of the most competitive motorcycle class in world racing. He just is, which means statistically, when you consider a phenomena like Marc Marquez, who we'll get on to later, Dovizioso is the one guy who's consistently taken it to someone like Marquez the most. And to get the lack of support from Ducati Corsa that he obviously did is just beyond stunning to me. It's unfathomable, personally. Now, Aprilia is a really, really strange story because the RSGP on paper is an unbelievable bike. Yet they're a team of perennial underachievers. You know, every season when it comes to testing, we see someone like Alicia Spargo near the top of the time boards, and yet they don't even get a podium in a season, let alone a race win, let alone thinking about a title. So, you know, someone like Andrea Dovizioso, who is a winner, perhaps not a serial winner, but certainly a winner with the mentality of a winner, he could be the missing ingredient that a team like Aprilia needs. Like Jacob said, and he's absolutely right. The Dovizioso's only concern with Ducati never had an issue with the power, never had an issue with how the bike felt. His only issue he ever had was that the bike couldn't turn. Like Jacob said, and I fully agree with his point, we know the RSGP can turn. So Dovizioso might well end up completely falling in love with this bike. We know the point that was mentioned earlier, Aprilia have historically struggled to sign riders, and Dovizioso did reject an offer to become a factory rider. He could very well end up loving this bike and appearing more regularly on it if things go to plan. So I really do think Andrea Dovizioso could be the missing ingredient that Aprilia have been seeking, because whatever they've been doing up to this point, with the greatest of respect to their team, it just hasn't worked. You know, they've got these new winglets in the front of the bike. They've been working on the chassis for years, trying to refine it and get it down, and the engine power and everything else. But, you know, sometimes the missing ingredient is simply the person riding the bike in question. Very often it's not a mechanical issue, but the person mastering the mechanical machine. So Dovizioso could end up surprising all of us, I think. If he ends up getting to grips with this bike and improving it, we could see a lot more in the relationship between Andrea Dovizioso and Aprilia.
Well, that's the point today, is we know Dovi's a good development rider. He feels, he's very analytical. I think he can only improve him. He's like, even though it's only a 3-day test, you know full well he's going to be able to tell him exactly what's wrong with that bike. Let's be honest.
Like, he could be like what Pedrosa was to KTM.
I was just about to say that.
I think he's going to race. That's the difference.
Because when Pedrosa first got off that KTM, he was like, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, what's that? And suddenly they just stripped it all off the bike and added his info, and bang, KTM race winner. I think it's worth pointing out that Dovizioso is only testing it. He hasn't actually signed to Aprilia.
Okay, mate.
I don't know, but officially, we'll say that way. Officially, he is obviously he's only testing. It's a way for Dovizioso to see what it's like, provide him some information, and see how well he gets to grips with the bike. But look between the lines.
Come on now. If you truly believe he hasn't signed for him, go soak your head. Like, it's just nah. Like, at the end of the day, they've really made a big push now the last 2 years, Aprilia. Like, they've got former Ferrari Formula One engineers in to develop the engine. Like, you know, that ain't cheap for a start, let alone getting them. You know what I mean? Like, they've improved everything. They've got, like, if you look at the differences between the two bikes, they are pretty much everywhere. They've even completely overhauled their frame. And that doesn't happen. You refine a frame, you don't overhaul.
No, because the frame is obviously like the heart of the bike, really.
They've even like gone to the point of changing like the tank shape and stuff. You know, they really want this win, and I think come Qatar 1, Alicia could give them a real headache of, well, what do we do here now? Because if we bring in Dovi to win us this title, but Alicia's then a race winner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yep, like they carbon swing on, following everyone else.
Yeah.
Mass damper in the rear to help with the front chatter. It's just everything they're doing is going towards race winning.
They want that race.
Could be that step.
KTM was their motivation, and now they're gone. Right, everyone else decide European test riders that are ex-world champions. Time for us to decide one.
Yeah, because like if you look at KTM, they did it right, getting Pedrosa.
Yes, that is probably the best thing they ever did.
Yeah, because like without wanting to make Zarco seem like a bad example, he got on the bike. He came back in the garage. He couldn't tell him exactly what he hated. Just knew he didn't like the bike.
Yeah.
Whereas Pedrosa was able to analyze what was wrong
and deeply, exquisitely explain it, like down to like finer details.
Yeah. And I think that's like with respect to Zarco, he obviously knows what he's doing because I think it was the steel frame that baffled him, but it didn't baffle Pedrosa, luckily.
No.
Yeah, what I'll say is in this, and I'll make this sort of my final point on the whole Aprilia situation. I think in general, people massively underestimate the importance of the test rider role in making a bike better. You know, I mean, you can literally dissect the Danny Pedrosa example as much as you want. Whatever KTM are paying him, it is literally worth its weight in gold because that bike's completely different to what it was. Sylvain Gintoli at Suzuki has done wonders. He had a massive hand in developing that last season's GSX RR, which of course went on to win the title.
Yeah.
But even if you look at other if you look at the other manufacturers,
not
like
Yamaha.
Michele Piero at Ducati, if you look at what Cal Crutchlow's done to the M1 at Yamaha, it looks like
that was
a
their
much
problem
better
last
bike.
year, Yamaha. So you're right entirely. They didn't put a rider of Jorge Lorenzo's quality on the bike.
Yeah,
Come on, Yamaha, sort yourself out.
And even Honda with Stefan Bradl. Bradl actually, in my opinion, made the bike a little more solid.
He made it
a lot more solid. Stefan Bradl is the fastest test rider in the world.
That's sort of my point. I think the test rider role perhaps has been the weak point in Aprilia's program. And if Dovizioso can step into that breach and bring them up to speed the way Pedrosa did with KTM and so on and so forth, the bike could become and fulfill its potential the way we know it can.
Do you know what I think, though, with that? I think 95% of the work is done, whereas KTM wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, that bike is, for all intents and purposes, a race-winning machine.
Yeah.
100%. It just hadn't won yet.
Yeah, I think so. With the right... all right, I want to move on from this quite quickly, but I'm speaking about the biggest thing that's happened this week. But Andrea Iannone getting banned was the worst thing to happen to Aprilia ever.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. And do you want to know why?
Yes, of course.
Andrea Iannone cannot develop a machine. And what they needed was someone who, well, you know, everybody's like, oh, Iannone cares more about his looks, etc. But when you're missing tests to go and have face surgery.
Yeah, I did forget about
that's
that.
That's a good point.
Good point.
Like, Iannone was clearly one of the most naturally talented riders ever to exist.
Unbelievable rider.
Oh, yeah.
But if your head's not in it at somewhere like Aprilia, like the example, Aprilia, like basically going sideways slightly. I'm a Cardiff supporter for football. But in our Premier League season, when we got relegated, get over it.
Yeah.
But when we got relegated, if every player didn't put in 100%, you showed, and we got smashed. Like, if you can't afford a passenger, and Aprilia are the equivalent of Cardiff, everybody has to put in 100% every single time they appear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point.
Iannone didn't do that. So for me, I think they're better off without him.
I think, obviously, my point was related to his God-blessed given talent and his just sheer ability to just. He was an unbelievable, like that Phillip Island race with the Aprilia. He was outstanding. But
Iannone is good for a finished article neurodevelopment. Simple as.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a good point.
Make the bike perfect, then get him in, but don't ask him to make the bike, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look what he did to Suzuki.
Yeah. Sacked after the first blooming press conference of that photo on social media.
Yeah, that's it. It's just, but then only when his job was in, like, I better start looking for a ride now. Did he perform? He's his own worst enemy, and he's done.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on before things get a bit too heated up. Maybe we can revisit this in a future podcast. I think it would be quite interesting. Let us know in the comments. Right, Marc Marquez. Obviously, he was spotted this week at Catalunya, Montmello, riding the Honda RC 213 VS, as well as riding the same bike at Portimao. There's been a lot of confusion on social media, people thinking, why is he testing MotoGP bike? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? It's illegal, all these conspiracy theories. Jacob, you know very well the difference. What's the difference between this bike and the MotoGP spec bike?
So basically, the RC 213 VS is, first and foremost, a street bike.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy it and put it on the road if you've got a spare 250 grand, but by the by.
Yeah, who does?
Yeah, it's based on the 2013 RCV race bike.
Yep.
But the only difference is it doesn't actually have the pneumatic valves that the race bike had to make more power. So it runs about 240 horsepower in race trim, which you can only take on track. It has baffles and blunted power when you're on the road.
And a different exhaust system as well.
Yep, and it doesn't have the seamless shift gearbox either. So it's not going to be... You're better off if you want something close to a MotoGP bike to jump on the latest superbike and tune it.
Yeah, I think do this. Absolutely. I think that and obviously the V4R, are probably the closest you'll get to a MotoGP bike, because the old Desmo is obviously very outdated now. And
I think the problem is that people are thinking, why did Fabio Quartararo get punished for using an R1? And Marc Marquez doesn't actually get punished for using this.
Yeah.
And the difference is that RCV is totally standard. It's how they come from the factory.
Literally on the block.
Whereas Fabio's bike was tuned to the point that it wasn't a road bike anymore.
Yeah.
It was a MotoGP bike in disguise.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
It's why the Ducati riders, they ride the V4S and not the R, because the R is way too close to a MotoGP bike. So obviously it's just down to different bikes. Obviously you can say what you like about it, but that is obviously those are the rules. But Marquez is looking very strong, because he was obviously, you see in the videos and pictures of Montmello where he had his elbow down, and then he went on to ride at blooming Portimao of all places.
Yeah, if you're going to do it right. Go to Portimao. If you can't ride Portimao, you ain't going to ride Qatar. Simple.
The man's crazy.
He just has no limits, does he?
No.
Winner.
Sorry guys, just in examining the state of Marquez now, what I'll say is, and of course we've talked about this quite a lot off camera, because it's the story that dominated last season and the story that will of course dominate this one. Marc Marquez is in a better state of recovery than even the most optimistic Honda fan or HRC personnel could have anticipated.
Yeah.
Personally, I still expected him to be in a hospital bed recovering at this point. So it's an immense credit and a tip of the hat to his drive and determination that he's even in this position.
Yeah.
What do you say about the alien that's Marc Marquez that hasn't already been said at some point?
Yeah.
To be able to, I think 1 week, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was quoted as being on a mini moto bike. Then he went on to the Fireblade, then back up to the RC 213 VS, which, as Jacob said, is the closest thing you can legally own to a MotoGP bike on the street. The thing's a freak of nature. Not that I've had the fortune of riding one, but I've seen a lot of videos that concur with that.
Yeah.
Mark is just he's a specimen, and the rest of the teams in the paddock should be sweating and looking over their shoulders, because he's going to be back a lot sooner than we thought he would be.
Yeah.
In my actual opinion and estimation of it, I think he should sit out the first 2 races in Qatar just to make absolutely sure that he's okay. Knowing him, he probably won't do that.
Yeah, tell a racer who's ready that he's not ready.
Good luck getting around to that.
No, the thing for me is, for once, he's being sensible.
Yeah.
And that, I think, this is Marquez we're talking about, a man who just doesn't think of consequence. I think even he got scared by his arm.
Yeah, he got bitten really badly trying to ride again.
He should never, ever have come back at Toretto.
No, he shouldn't. It was like...
If we could tell that from the outside, surely he knew that.
Now he knows it. Like, fair play to him. Like, that...
Oh, you can't fault his balls. But
that was very impressive, but it's obviously he's paid the price horrendously for that. But I think, he's going to be interested, because a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to be rubbish, he'll never be the same. But then you just got to look at Mick Doohan. He's probably the best example.
Not affect the best.
No,
it's that simple. It affects the riders who are scared, and I think he's now gone past the fear.
Yeah, because Lorenzo was scared. Lorenzo rode scared after his crash at Assen.
Yeah, quite Marquez. A couple of inches, he would have been paralyzed. If that's not enough to scare you, if you don't get scared by that, you don't care about dying. It's that simple.
Exactly, and I think that's what separates Marc Marquez from a lot of riders, because he just, even at he's now 28, he's still riding with the 20-year-old mentality of just not caring.
Yeah, he compartmentalizes it quite well.
He's just a robot.
And that's why he's so good. They just put a new CPU in him, didn't they, really?
Just update 2024.
Changed his graphics card.
Yeah. My view on Marc Marquez is a pretty well-known one, especially to you guys, because I've said this on a couple of occasions. In terms of a physical specimen and in terms of a mental specimen, we've hardly ever seen anything like Marc Marquez. My problem with him is this. The big strength that could come out of his accident could also be the huge weakness that comes out of it. And what I mean by that is this. In the past, we have seen many, many riders come back from crashing and injuries, and they've been a better rider than they were before. It's such examples where, guys like Mick Doohan, who Declan just mentioned absolutely correctly, and guys like Marco Simoncelli, who was a far better rider when he became a more considerate rider. Rest in peace, Marco, by the way. Yeah, I think if Marc Marquez comes back and he's a more considerate, smooth rider, instead of trying to alligator wrestle the bike around the track, I think he'll actually be an even better rider than he was before, because he doesn't have to be this reckless around the track. That's the only issue I've ever had.
I've got to have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you for why.
So I'm going to disagree as well.
I think Mark's strength is his style.
Yeah.
It's you take away the edge, you take away his ability. He can ride smoothly till the cows come home, but if he's a second off, he's not the same rider. No, he needs that extra little bit of out of control, which is what separates him from the others, because his style already is refined to save the moments that being on the edge is.
He rides literally, like Cal Crutchlow once said.
He rides to crash.
Marc Marquez finds the limit and rides on it. Cal Crutchlow confirmed that, because he tried to ride like Marc Marquez and nearly crashed every corner.
Actually, he is a case of he rides to crash.
Yeah.
And only when he's ridden to crash, had the crash, saved it most of the time, but not always. Then he knows where the limit is. If he rides smoothly, he's not going to be able to touch that limit, and that takes away.
That will slow him down. Yeah, because he literally goes out, finds there's a limit, and then there is the point of no return limit, and he rides on the point of no return limit.
So I think being smooth, it works for some people. Put it this way, could you imagine Marc Marquez on a Yamaha?
Nope.
No, probably not.
Bleach my eyes out with that.
It wouldn't work.
No.
Could you imagine Jorge Lorenzo having to ride like Marc Marquez? We saw what happened.
Yeah.
No.
And because of that, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to go fast.
Yes.
And Marc's works for him. I think if he changes his style, he changes Marc Marquez, and then Marc Marquez just becomes another rider.
Yeah, I think adding to that one, because we mentioned the test riders earlier, Stefan Bradl's made the bike a lot more user-friendly. So that is another interesting dynamic of how the bike will adapt, because obviously Paul's riding it, riding the bike made for Marc Marquez, but Stefan Bradl...
And it worked.
Yeah, and it's been confirmed by many riders, like Alex Marquez has said, that the bike is a lot easier to ride thanks to Stefan Bradl's input. Mm-hmm. So that is another interesting dynamic. What's going to happen? Is Marc going to want to ride the 2019 bike, or is he going to have to adapt to this?
It's still very front end, isn't it? Like you can tell because Espargaro's got on it,
and he hates
like
the front end.
Yeah,
he's like, adapted quick.
Yeah, but he's like, how do I put it? The front end is what he expected, so that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that Marc could come back and just go, well, this is pretty much my bike, but the back's a bit different. Oh, this is better. And then that's the end of it.
Girlfriend goes out, gets surgery, comes back. Right, the back end's a bit better, but...
well, they had a new linkage from Aragon onwards, and that linkage apparently helped the acceleration.
Yeah.
But Marc got the acceleration from sliding it, so there's lots of little different things. I think he'll race Qatar.
Yeah.
I agree with that, yes.
I think we'll see him. On track.
Well, he's going to Qatar for the vaccine either way.
For the vaccine, inverted comments.
Yeah, going. Well, he is getting the vaccine. To be fair.
He is. Yeah.
But if anybody thinks he's going to go to Qatar and not look at the track and think, "Oh, go on then."
No, you on the bike.
If you insist.
Eddie Hearn style. Oh, go on then. I'll get on the bike.
Yeah. Oh, if you insist, go on,
okay. Yeah, someone pulls up in a Porsche. Do you want to drive it? Go on then.
I just happen to have my leathers with me as it happens.
Yeah, my leathers, my 21 paint design,
Alex brought them by accident.
Yeah, Alex, what are you doing bringing the wrong helmet?
Oh, no.
You're not riding for Repsol anymore.
But if anybody thinks that he ain't riding at Qatar, he is.
I mean,
he's going to try at least. FP1, he'll roll out. Whether we'll see him in FP2, that's the question. Yeah,
he might not race, but he'll definitely give it a go. I mean, you can come back to this and slate us on everything Motor Racing's DMs, fire me insults, do what you like if he doesn't race, but I'd put a considerable amount of money on him, at least riding.
Yeah, FP1 for sure.
Yeah. And that brings us perfectly into our race preview section. Yeah. So it is race week, finally.
Oh, God,
Let's go.
What? Honestly, this has been the longest winter of my life.
The races, the last few years, the races actually happened like last week, the week before last.
I think because we had such a compact season, it doesn't feel like we had a season last year.
Yeah, it just feels like it's just gone.
Genuinely, this winter, I just, no. I don't want to do it again. I'd like a long season, please.
Yeah, please. 20 rounds, I mean, I don't want to kill the riders off, making them do 25 rounds like Dorna are trying to make them do. But that's a story for another time. But, yeah, finally.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we have got so much to talk about testing. So... What on earth happened with Aprilia at the Qatar?
Well, I think what happened with Aprilia at Qatar is that they showed they could win a race, as we said earlier. But, Qatar's a high grip track, first and foremost, which means some are flying under the radar, i.e. KTM, i.e. Suzuki. Yamaha, I think, are looking better because of the high grip.
Yes.
And Aprilia... It looks like where the real test is Jerez for me.
Oh yeah, Jerez is always like the base ground,
Yeah, like they could win Qatar. Don't get me wrong. Alicia could just say, right, I'm wake up and say I'm winning today and do it. Jerez is going to be the acid test, but it doesn't subtract from the fact that we could see an Aprilia win at Qatar.
We could also see a Jack Miller win at Qatar.
Well, Ducati,
yes, Jackie boy.
Ducati are the biggest eye opener for me of the test.
Oh, they were
unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
It's not just one specific part I want to talk about, which is their new fairing.
Yes, go for it. You know so much about this. Go for it. Let her rip.
I'll keep it brief, but that's the thing. I don't know that much about it, and I'm absolutely baffled as to how it can work. Because they've got bottom fairing winglets, which are aiming, from what I gather, to drag the bike to the tarmac.
Yeah, it's pushing air downwards.
But that's for me is working against the negative forces of the bike wanting to tip over the other way with the gyroscopic force.
Yes.
Now, for me, I think that whoever came across that idea is an absolute genius.
Yeah. Ducati's R&D department are not afraid to try things, that's for sure.
Yeah. And they brought it, and you look at it, and when it's upright, you think, well, that's just stupid.
Yeah,
make no mistake. You look at it and you think, what are they on?
Yeah.
You see it cranked over, and it all makes sense.
It just clicks, doesn't it?
Yeah, literally, you see it. There's a great picture out there of Pecco Bagnaia.
Yeah.
You know, extreme lean angle from Pecco. That's what he does.
Yeah, if I can find it, I'll put it on screen now.
Perfect for what you want when you cranked over. It's dragging the bike into the tarmac, which is creating more force on the front end, more squish on the front tire, creating a more positive front end.
Yes.
The irony is that they may have stumbled across exactly what Andrea Dovizioso was asking for. And the side thing, which I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But it might not have worked, is that the top speed is better due to it.
It is.
With Johan Zarco actually smashing the Qatar top speed record, 222.2 miles an hour now.
Yeah, it's the unofficial record because Dovizioso's Mugello 2019 top speed still counts.
Yeah, but what's going to happen when we're going to see 360 at Mugello?
Oh, yeah, it's going to 360 is that's happening.
Yeah, but like for that fairing, I was looking at it and it makes no sense upright, but it makes all the sense when you're cranked over. And for me, that shows exactly how important a wind tunnel and ROD department is.
Yeah, like thanks Audi, thanks for that.
Yeah, like you can't. It's just honestly, it's mind blowing. Like if you get a chance, genuinely go and look at that fairing in some detail. There's some high resolution pictures out there, and it is an absolute marvel of engineering.
Jacob, I actually have a technical question for you, especially in relation to this new fairing design.
Yeah.
Will this new design on Ducati's front end fairing, will it create more wear on the front tire?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't believe it will. I believe it will create more contact patch, which in turn may actually wear the front tire slightly less. Because the forces are spread out more evenly across the tire.
Yeah, instead of like concentrating on one bit.
Yes, that's my belief. I could be way off base with that. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But my feeling is that with the extra little bit of squish, it's going to spread the tire out and create not only slightly less wear, but also may help cool the tire because the forces are actually being spread out over a wider margin.
Whoa.
Now that's my theory. It is only a theory.
Yeah, I know.
When you combine that with
number,
but where you've got that, combine that then with the front end aero that they brought, which is like the trapezium coming down off the front fork.
Yeah,
and I think that it could actually help their front end massively.
Yeah, I think that is genuinely what Lorenzo, Dovizioso needed and wanted, and it's proven. Like because Miller topped day 3, sorry, with the new lap record.
Yeah,
and then Bagnaia's 5th on day 4, and then day 5 Bagnaia was 5th again. So it's proven to be working. Obviously, Yamaha are up there.
Yeah,
as they always are in testing.
They brought some interesting aero.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw it, but their front mudguard, it basically now looks like a bald man, for want of a better term. They cut off the roof of it, but it does. You know, like a man who's slightly too tall for his hair, so he's got it around the back, but he doesn't have it on top. That's what it looks like.
It actually does, to be fair.
It does. And for that, apparently that's to help cool the tyre. But
there you go.
I really don't see how that's going to work because it's such a concentrated little area next to an intake. I don't think it's going to work how they want. I think it's token.
Not a Qatar with the track grip is really high and there's
I don't think anyway.
You're not?
No, it might have a slight aero benefit, don't get me wrong. But in terms of its, I think it's like the Scoop, honestly. Remember when the Scoop came at Qatar 19? And everybody was like,
Hammerhead.
What? Yeah, and you think, not the Hammerhead fairing, the rear Scoop.
Oh gosh, I'm way off. No idea.
Yeah, and the rear Scoop on Ducati's swing arm when they brought it in 2019, they got protested.
Yeah.
Its prime objective is not to be aerodynamic. It's to cool the tyre.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's going to be the opposite for Yamaha. I think it might provide a slight aero benefit without actually cooling the tyre off, which is its prime directive.
Interesting. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, when it comes to the Qatar testing, I'm actually going to make what I'm pretty sure is going to be quite a controversial point, but it's something I think is very interesting to pick up on.
Yeah.
One man who I think, and feel free to, boo, hiss, and criticize if you so choose. One man who I think is going to have a very good season from his move is Valentino Rossi.
Agreed.
I agree.
Carry on.
I agree.
And the reason I say it is this. I think actually, Declan, I've talked to you quite a lot about this, and this might be why you agree.
Yeah.
For the first time in 20 odd years, Valentino is not carrying the pressure of a factory outfit on his back. And I think this is going to benefit him mentally enormously.
Yeah.
Because ever since for the last 3 or 4 years, obviously we've had the tire changes from Bridgestone to Michelin and all that kind of business. But Valentino, you can kind of tell, has struggled with the criticism and the pressure and being with the Monster Energy factory outlet. Now, quite controversially, I think Petronas at the moment have got their heads screwed on better than the factory team do.
Yep.
Would agree. Yeah.
1000%.
And I think having his very good friend and protege and Franco Morbidelli as a teammate is going to help enormously because they're going to have complete synergy when it comes to developing the Petronas M1. And when it comes to race pace as well, they're going to be able to read off each other very well too.
Yeah, do you know what? Yep, I completely agree with you.
Thanks. This is much more positive than I was expecting.
Do you know why, though? The point you've made is about Morbidelli. Rossi, I think, is a typical Italian. Family is everything.
Yeah.
Petronas is like a family team as opposed to a factory team.
Well, we saw that last year with the documentary Dorna did last year, the 2019 one when they started, when Fabio was a rookie. That highlighted amazingly how much of a family team they were.
Yes, and I think that's going to be it. They're almost Italian in their working.
Yeah, you don't have to read their social media comments to see people saying they're Italian team.
Yeah, but in their way they work, they are because the rider comes before the effort.
Yeah,
exactly. I didn't even realize that. But my other point as well about Valentino, especially, and at the time it happened, I thought it would be a massive negative, but I think it's going to be almost a rebirth of Valentino.
Yeah, with his team moving around.
I don't think he'll win a race.
Yeah, when we saw him move to Petronas, obviously they wouldn't bring across his old entourage like Alex Briggs and other guys from his engineering outfit. Yeah. I think being forced to work with a new perspective is going to help him enormously. Yeah. And I really think this is something people have not picked up on. Yeah. Guys like Wilco Zeelenberg, who are running the team, have run the team so well. And they've got so many good engineers in that team that have especially worked wonders on Franco's bike. I believe last season, 2020, Franco had the 2019 spec M1, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And he was the best Yamaha rider out of the four. Easily. So imagine what they can do for Valentino on the Petronas M1. I'm perfectly serious, I think Rossi could really be a rider to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll make a title run. I don't think he'll quite do that.
No.
I think he's certainly capable of picking up a race win, though. I really do think so.
Do you know what I think? I don't think he'll win a race. Who hits me up?
I'm
but
not
I
gonna.
do think he will make Yamaha better in the Petronas team, because we know he can. We know he's good at what he does. Like, make no mistake, you don't get 9 world titles by being rubbish.
No, you don't.
Like, but he was the first to test the new chassis at the Qatar tests. He still has the development lead.
Yeah.
Now, if he doesn't have to, for want of a better term, fight Viñales for everything, now they're handing him a development lead at Petronas, then I think he could. He may not win a race, but he could enable Yamaha to win a race and a title.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as well, like Keelan said, obviously his whole team around him has changed, which he has been obviously running that team since he was at Nastro Azzurro, with Alex Briggs, who worked with Mick Doohan beforehand. It's pulling him out of his comfort zone and placing him in deep water.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Rossi's strength has always been adaptation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, come on, Yamaha 2004. We all know what happened there, unreal. Ducati didn't go as planned, but Ducati are Ducati and don't listen.
I don't think anybody other than Casey Stoner would ever win on that Ducati, though.
No. They didn't even listen to Stoner by the end of his tenure at Ducati. So Ducati is not a very good comparison. But
Mr. Preziosi was a stubborn old mule.
Yeah.
But again, he was.
Story for another time. We'll definitely go deeper into that if people want it.
Because I've got a lot to say about that.
Goodness me, do not get me cancelled.
We'll just let Jacob off the leash in that episode.
But it's interesting because obviously the Petronas Yamaha move, like I said, it does push him into new unfound territory. And a lot of people have said it. I've seen major journalists say this could genuinely be the best thing for his career that's ever happened since his Yamaha return in 2013. Yeah, easily too comfortable, I think. He was comfortable.
You get a nice chair.
Yeah.
And it molds to your arse.
Thanks for that.
Well, I'm right.
Yeah, you're right.
You make if it's just you sitting in the chair, eventually it molds to you.
Yeah, he's like, he's laying in his bed and it's comfortable. It's memory foam.
Yamaha became his chair.
Yeah. And he's on his little perch in Yamaha on the right side of the garage.
Yep, but not anymore.
Not anymore. Now he's forced into the opposite side of the garage. Petronas will not take anything.
Well, they ain't going to put up with any rubbish from him.
No,
because Petronas pulled it. They are the ones who make the shots, and let's be real.
Yeah, they've pulled the plug on a lot of things. They've forced him into the number 2 slot in.
Well, that's because he's the number 2 rider. Let's be real.
Yeah, they've pushed him. They've gone quite explicitly said, Morbidelli's our number 1. You're number 2. You sit on the other side of the garage. Morbidelli sits on the number 1 spot in the garage, and you adhere to our forms with our sponsors. And you do what we say.
Well, you say that, yet he's still running different.
He's still running DRD chain, Akrapovic, easy teamwork.
So he did go his own way somewhere.
Yeah, but it's so it's really
work
interesting.
Around Petronas. Like Mr. Rosali, let's be real honest, Dato Rosali is a very, very shrewd man.
Yeah,
no question.
He knows exactly what he's doing and what he needs to do to make it work.
Yeah, he is unbelievably good at what he does.
So he ain't going to put up with anything.
No. And he knows that, yes, Rossi is regarded as one of the greatest of all time. But he knows he doesn't have... Yamaha offered him that seat. Rosali could have said no.
Rossi needed Petronas. Petronas didn't need Rossi. Yes. That's what it comes down to.
Rossi needed them more than... Rossi needed them more than they needed him.
Yep, that's it.
But obviously, we don't want to disrespect Rossi's name because I think, like we've said, he will do really well in the team. But
Morbidelli is the number 1, and unless Rossi can change it, so as they.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Basically.
Yeah, and the reason I love this move as well, we've kind of alluded to it already, but I'll just sort of put the emphasis on it here. With the Petronas outfit and with his teammate being Franco, Petronas to me are a far more open-minded team than many of the factory teams.
Yeah.
One of Valentino's big complaints last year was a lack of rear tire grip, and it never seemed to be properly addressed by the factory team. One thing you can bet with guys like Razlan Rosali that we've just mentioned and Wilco Zeelenberg, whatever Valentino needs to succeed, Petronas will give it to him.
Yes.
And I think that will make him, I think it'll make the bike far better. And I think Valley will get far better results because of it.
Well,
I really do think he'll have a better support network around him.
Do you know what? Like that actually ties into the test because the new frame, he tested it with the carbon swing arm.
Yeah.
Morbidelli was the only one last year to actually run the carbon swing arm all year.
And he was the best rider.
Yeah, but the carbon swing arm didn't work on the 2020 frame.
No, it worked on the 19, but not the 20.
Yeah, it was creating too much spin.
Yeah, on
the rear tire, which was obviously spin is bad. Some spin is good. Spin is bad mostly.
Yeah,
but I think now this new frame, he was able to run the carbon swing arm, and he was consistently the fastest Yamaha in a straight line, apart from one little bit where they think they turned Fabio up. But through the speed traps and race runs, he was consistently the quickest rider through the speed traps of the Yamahas using that carbon swing arm. That says to me that combined, the frame and the swing arm are actually creating acceleration, not spin.
Yeah.
And true. Of course, the new engine, the engine, which was, they can't have a new engine. That's what I meant to say, sorry. But they can't have a new engine because of the engine freeze regulations.
Yes,
but
that's correct.
With the 2020 bike, it was creating too much torque for the chassis to cope with. Now in 21, it looks like the torque actually is accelerating the bike. So I think being out of the factory squad in Petronas, where you can develop, and for want of a better term, nothing's expected of him this year.
No, it's literally just back to square one kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like, so if it doesn't succeed, you just think, okay, he tried, but he can develop almost on the quiet, like as quiet as Valentino Rossi can get,
without any pressure.
Rossi quiet,
as quiet as he can get. Like everybody loves Rossi, everybody knows him at the face, but I think people don't quite realize just how hard he works. Like, he is still one of the hardest working riders out there. And I think, going back to my original point, I think he can, even if he doesn't win, he'll make Yamaha better for it.
Yeah, and I think he's in a really good position in Petronas, adding to a previous point, because they're in an alleviated position at the moment because they have destroyed Monster Yamaha. 2 years now, they've beaten them. They have proven that they are the better team than the factory team. So what Petronas want, they can get, and they can go directly to Yamaha and go, we're the better team, not your factory team. We've got Valentino Rossi. We've got 2020 runner-up in our rostrum. We need this part. Give us it now.
What would you have done if you were Fabio?
I'd have stayed. I'd have stayed at Petronas.
I'd have stayed.
But I do understand the factory ride of the line.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. The pull of a factory ride.
Yeah. So what were you saying, Keelan?
No, sorry. I was just going to say, like, really, really quick. I didn't mean to get into the middle of your point.
No, it's all right, Karen.
Pretty much every satellite team last year outperformed their factory counterpart.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Pramac Ducati, outperformed Ducati Corsa. Yeah. Suzuki obviously don't have a satellite team. They just have their factory effort. Petronas smacked Monster Energy last season.
Tech 3.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know what I think that comes down to? I think that comes down to teams, manufacturers mostly, picking up the talent from Moto2 and putting them in the satellite squad.
With the same bikes.
Yeah, in inverted commas. Because they're factory bikes on factory contracts.
In satellite colours.
But they are coming up from Moto2 and let's be honest. We've already discussed Moto 2 and Moto 3. The level's getting better every year.
It is, and the level in MotoGP with the older riders is the level.
It's
I'm going to say
waning.
it this way: the riders in Moto 2 in 2015 would get obliterated by the 2021 Moto 2 riders. They'd be back markers. Like Zarco and Tito Rabat back in Moto 2 were unbelievable. Put them up against Sam Lowes of 2021, Remy Gardner, Jake Dixon, Vierge, and they're finishing 10th.
Riders who are slightly off, like DG Antonio, Buliga. I think they are better riders than, I don't, maybe not Zarco.
Zarco's two-time Moto 2 champion.
Everybody forgets that Tito's a world champion. He always gets lost in the mix.
But I think Zarco is one of the more naturally talented riders in that field.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
But I don't think he has the head for it.
Not anymore. But again, story for another time.
but my point is that, short of maybe one or two come through the Moto 2 class, the level is higher every year, and they're bringing in the most talented Moto 2 riders.
Yeah.
So
unbelievable talent.
Yeah. So you're not going to go straight to the factory squad, but the factory squad riders are there, and they're not going to get any better. Whereas Pramac are a really good example, because Miller, Pecco, Petrucci, they all came through that.
Yes, they did, yeah.
And I think while they were at Pramac, they were a better rider than the factory riders of that year.
Oh, yeah. Like Miller last year just proved that point tenfold. He was outstanding. Oh, his battle with Morbidelli, man, at Valencia.
Oh,
I don't think it's anything to do with satellite squads, I think it's everything to do with manufacturers waking up and realizing they can have a lot of factory bikes on the grid, as well as snapping up the best talent from Moto 2.
And MotoGP is gaining more funding. I don't know if you've realised, but there has been a change in the times. And the sponsors are getting bigger, they're paying more money, and it's allowing...
Red Bull. Look how much money Red Bull are pouring into MotoGP now.
Exactly. It's just allowing this talent to just come through and just...
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and look at KTM now.
Yeah.
I think KTM are the only team where the factory squad is better than the satellite squad.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct.
In 2021, agreed, yeah.
In terms of talent.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe Ducati as well, but
yeah,
I'd suggest that the satellite squads 9 times out of 10 are going to beat the factory squads in 21.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at last year's championship standings. Aside from obviously Suzuki, who don't have a satellite to compare against, the satellites were beating the factories week in, week out.
Yeah, and it's because of the talent as opposed to the team, I think.
Yeah,
and I think that's the main point.
Yeah, instead of giving them last year's bikes, I remember Yoni Hernandez riding a 14.2 against GP16s. It's now you're riding a GP21.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a GP1 versus a GP21 versus a GP21.
GP1, bloody hell, that's a throwback. Petronas' first bike. Yeah, Petronas' first bike.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think KTM go into those next. I think their struggles are false.
Yes,
because Qatar, as I've mentioned, is a high grip track.
Yeah.
And now, from what I gather, it turns out that KTM actually have too much mechanical grip on their bike for Qatar.
Yeah.
Which is an absolutely unique problem to have.
Yeah, because the track is very high grip.
Yeah. And because of that, it's actually upsetting their balance of their bike, which blows my mind. How do you work around a problem like that?
Yeah.
Which you haven't had before.
They're just shredding the tyres, isn't it?
It's not even that. It's actually upsetting how the power is delivered.
Oh, right. Okay. It's interesting.
So when they got, because that's KTM's strength last year, was upon acceleration, mechanical grip was probably the highest of all the bikes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether that was due to their steel frame, their carbon swing arm, or both combined.
Combined.
But now they accelerate, and there's just so much grip that the bike doesn't know what to do with itself, apparently.
It's just maybe they've actually secretly taken 3,000 revs off everybody, so they think they're rubbish. And then once this weekend, they'll turn up a Qatar.
Well, as I say, Qatar again, Areth is going to be the acid test for KTM. The thing is, last year we didn't test it at Qatar.
No,
the race weekend.
There was no data at all.
Yeah, so we came to Jerez, and KTM were immediately not brilliant.
They were
quick, very strong. And look how strong they were at Brno on a low grip track.
Exactly. They've just
It's just it's one of those really weird, unique problems that you wouldn't think would ever happen, but KTM are in the middle of it.
It's like mind blowing to think about, isn't it?
Like from what that's my base understanding is that it's actually upsetting the acceleration. They like the first half of the lap where Qatar is a bit tighter, a bit more hairpins. They just can't get out of the corners. On the second half of the lap, where it's more flowing, you turn in, you need a positive front end. They're up there with the best in the sector times.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So for me, it just says it all. I think the bike is actually confused in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of gone. Right. So we're going to cap this one off because it's been a pretty long podcast. So what I'm going to do is I want to give us three, really predictions for who we expect to be on the podium at Qatar in all three classes. We'll write them down and we'll revisit it after the race next Sunday. So, Moto 3, I'll go through each one of you. I'll let you think for a minute whilst I'm obviously explaining this. It doesn't have to be in order. I don't want you to be like, I don't know which rider. But
I've already got my Moto 3 riders, so we're going to be on the podium.
Well, there we go. So, right, I'll start with Keelan. Keelan, are you ready?
I am.
So, I'm going to write it down now. So, which three riders do you think will be on the podium in Moto 3?
The first one I have is Darren Binder.
Nice, interesting.
The second is McPhee.
Mm.
And the third is my wild card option, Messia.
Yeah, I can completely understand that one.
So those are my three.
Perfect. Jacob, what do you think?
Messia, Guevara, Foggia.
Oh, yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's you just cannot write, Murph.
Yeah, that's the thing. It could be anybody, couldn't it? Let's be honest.
It could literally be anyone. You could get flipping.
For me, like
anyone.
that's the class of the field, race pace wise at this point. Having looked at the runs, those three, like Acosta's super quick.
Yeah,
but race runs he's slightly off. But again, race runs go out the window. So
it's Moto 3 as well.
Taito Toba could win at the end of the day.
Yeah, it could be anyone. I think
but
for me,
that's my predictions.
Amazing. So obviously we're going to revisit these ones after the race. And so for me, it's going to be Messia, Guevara as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And my third rider, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a wild card.
You're going to say Salah, Chile.
I'm going to say Alcoba.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, see.
I hope so, because if we get to see his helmet and leather design on the podium, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's amazing. It's based on Doc Hudson from Cars 3. It's incredible.
It's not his race design, but it is a testing design.
The fabulous Jeremy Alcoba.
That's brilliant. I love it.
It's amazing.
So, Keelan, Moto 2, what are you thinking?
My first rider, probably not much of a shock to anybody, Sam Lowes.
Yeah.
My second rider, Remy Gardner.
Yeah.
And my third rider, I actually think it's going to be the top three of the combined sessions. I'm going to go Bezzecchi.
Yeah, it's completely expected, Bezzecchi.
Yeah. I'm sorry that's not too original. It's just those are the three most likely to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah. What do you think, Jacob?
Well, I'm going in a different direction.
Oh, gosh, I don't like it when you do that.
Aaron Canet.
Oh, okay.
Spicy.
Joe Roberts.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
And
He's
Sam
very
Lowe's.
quick around there.
Love Joe.
Lowe's. Yeah, Lowe's has got that record. No, Lowe's. Roberts has got that record. So yeah.
Aaron Canet, though.
Yeah, he is.
Aaron Canet will win.
He's going to be disgusting this year in a good way. Got those tattoos.
Throwing it out there,
Yeah.
I think Arenas will be top 5. And I think Manzi will be top 7.
Okay. Right, me, it's hard. It is hard, but I'm going to have to stick with my guns and say Gardner because he's just on fire. It's going to be Lowe's. It's got to be Sam Lowe's. And my third rider, it's a toss between Dixon, Vierge, Ben Schneider, Joe Roberts.
Don't forget as well, do you know someone we haven't talked about whatsoever?
Who?
But he can easily be a threat. Augusto Fernandez.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
He was P24 on 3 days. But if he can get that deal dial back in, he's up there.
He doesn't do well at Qatar either. That's the problem.
Like, it doesn't.
At Jerez, he was amazing.
It's outstanding.
Like, so maybe not considering for the Qatar podium, but we didn't even discuss him. That's how Obalda, Ramirez, like the depth of field.
Crazy. So yeah, for Moto 2, Gardner, Lowe's, and I'm going to go Jake Dixon because you just can't love Jake.
I'm a fear on Dixon because I don't know if his wrist will hold up. That's why I didn't choose him. On pace, I would have picked him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right, Keelan, MotoGP.
Oh, this is interesting. This is to me. This is the hardest.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, 2 out of 3 are the easiest for me.
Yeah.
My first and my prediction for the Premier class is based on which bikes, of course, work the best around Qatar. My number 1 is going to be Jack Miller.
Yep.
My number 2 is going to be Morbidelli.
Okay.
Yeah, I can expect that.
And my number 3, what the hell, Paul Espargaro.
Nice.
No, I was going to say Paul.
No,
I think you had 2 of my 3 though.
Especially in that long straight, I think the Honda's going to pull past a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it will. He's adapted unbelievably quick to that bike. He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it. What about you, Jacob? What are you thinking?
Well, you had 2 of my 3. Miller,
Paul.
Aleix.
Oh, imagine the Asparger bros on the podium.
But I will preface that by saying that's assuming Marc Marquez doesn't ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Marc Marquez rides and is strong enough after FP1, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the podium.
That leads perfectly into me. So, Jack Miller, Marc Marquez, and Franco Morbidelli, because I think Marquez is just going to snap.
If Marc doesn't ride, who then?
If Marc doesn't ride,
screw
it. I'm going to throw a wild card into it. I'm going to throw the biggest wild card in there.
Taka.
Miguel Oliveira.
I think Binder's going to beat Oliveira.
Do you?
Yep.
I'm just going to throw a really sneaky 4th wild card out there, just like for the hell of it.
All right.
Valentino.
Do you know what I think though? I think I think there's going to be a surprise top 5 in Taka Nakagami.
I think he can do it. I think I wouldn't doubt him.
Shout.
And I think Alex Marquez will crack the top 8.
That LCR Honda at Qatar. Beautiful. Beautiful.
What about the top rookie?
Top rookie? Good question. We'll just do MotoGP class because
it's got to be an air.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be an air. I think, but Jorge Martin is doing well. I'm really impressed by Martin as well.
Do you know what? Like a side note, I think the Shark helmet is helping the top speeds.
Yeah,
because the 2 fastest Ducatis both wear Shark.
Bit pro. We're not sponsored, by the way. If you do want to sponsor a Shark, I would be open to that. But
or AGV, Jaguars and AGV.
Yeah, but the 2 top fastest were Martin, the 2 Pramac bikes, Martin and Zarco.
Oh,
and
no, you're right.
Shark.
I mean, they are riding a Ducati, which might have some influence,
but they're still quicker than the other Ducatis, and I genuinely think it's something to do with that. I noticed just a quick thing I noticed.
Yeah, because they are the first one to pull that little wing out the back, because there was no helmets that were as obvious with the wing as Shark were.
Yeah. So if you want to send me a free GBR Shark, feel free.
yeah. Shout out them, man.
Well, Jorge Martin is doing a giveaway on his Instagram now, so
I know.
There is that.
But like I think rookie wise, Ine is the strongest.
Yeah, Ine is
based on what we saw. Overall, I think Jorge Martin's going to do it, but strongest at Qatar.
Yeah, I think Martin could crack the top 10. I'm a big fan of him. I like what he's about. Yeah. It'll be a toss-up between him and Bastianini. It just will be. But I think the Pramac might just edge it.
Yeah, perfect. Right. That is everything for now. I hope you've enjoyed this one. This is the end of, obviously, episode 2. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and obviously feel free to comment below, like and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on socials. Our socials will be in the description if you don't already. And obviously, don't forget to smash like. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.